This is my custom PT panel cruiser. In this video, I'm going to show you how we took a standard PT cruiser 2.2 CRD diesel and turned it into the world's first diesel PT panel van, affectionately known as Preston Tucker, after the famous Preston Tucker of Tucker Automobiles, whom, ironically, Chrysler put out of business. Anyway. The question that everybody wanted to know is how come Chrysler never offered this as a panel van? Now, although many in the USA had converted their PT Cruisers into panel vans, this was the first time that a diesel version of the 5-door PT Cruiser had been transformed to look like a factory-manufactured panel van made by Chrysler. You either love them or you hate them. But I love the retro styling of the PT Cruiser, and I think the designers at Chrysler got this spot on. Sure, it's not to everyone's taste, but what car is? So my Patriot Blue PT Cruiser 2.2 CRD was a pretty comfortable car. I used it for a good few trips down to Cornwall with surfboards on the roof. It really was everything that I wanted out of the vehicle. One of the first things that I did was lower it. For some reason, they came stock with so much ride height, it made it look like it was ready to go off-roading. So I managed to source from Germany a set of coilovers for my PT Cruiser diesel, which I then used to lower the stance. And actually, the road holding was so much improved. It was during this time that I really started to want to convert mine into a panel van. I was inspired by some of the things that I'd seen going on in the States, and when Boyd Coddington converted a PT Cruiser into a panel van, that was it. I had to do it. And I always wondered to myself, what would Foose have done had he done a PT panel cruiser? The first thing that I needed to do, of course, was strip out the interior and remove the door handles, the windows, the window mechanisms, and everything else that would now not be needed. I ripped all of that stuff out and was left with the bare interior shell. I then made it reasonably waterproof and took it off to the body shop. Now at the body shop is where all the magic happened. Proceeded to weld the rear doors shut, finish them off so they looked like they were never there. And from the outside, you would never tell that this car didn't come with rear doors. That is how good the final finished product is. And one of the important finishing touches for me was to leave the recess in the window area so it looked like a 1940s sedan delivery vehicle, and to do the door jambs. And the car looks like it rolled out of the factory with only 2 front doors. I'm extremely happy with that small finishing touch, and it was no small feat to achieve that. Building a custom panel van is not just a matter of welding up the back doors, welding in a panel, and that's it. So I wanted to make sure that legally my panel cruiser was correctly listed as a 2-door, and I managed to achieve that with the DVLA and retain my normal registration. With the conversion done and it sprayed up, it was looking beautiful in its Patriot Blue with factory alloys, and after about a year of work, took it off to the first car show that I could in the summer of 2014, which was Picnic in the Park, and lo and behold, I won my first modified car trophy. And the best feeling of all is when somebody looks at the panel cruiser and can't figure out why it's different and that it was originally 5 doors. That is an extremely satisfying feeling for it to look like it rolled off the factory assembly line. Now the interior of the PT Cruiser started off as a grey leather. What I particularly liked was the interior of the Street Cruiser, and I managed to get the interior out of a PT Street Cruiser that was being scrapped. But before I did the interior swap, I did one of my other favorite modifications to this car, and that was the headlining. Now, I had seen some hot rodders do fabric headliners with Mexican blankets, so I thought I'd give that a go. And what I came up with was, like I said, one of my favorite modifications on this car that still exists today, my Mexican blanket headlining. So once I'd finished the conversion, that I'd done this great headlining and swapped the interior out, the suspension was lowered on coilovers, I then really needed to address what was happening in the rear passenger compartment, which was now the rear panel van area. I didn't want it to look too much like the interior of a normal passenger vehicle, but there are some trim pieces that fit into really difficult and awkward shapes, and of course a factory trim piece fits a car very well. As soon as you start to customize those trim pieces, you can sometimes land up with a bit of a mess. I experimented with lots of different configurations and panels, and what I settled on for a long time was using the two rear 3/4 panels with these side panels and these wave overlays. I was pretty happy with that. The only thing I didn't like about it really was the grey wheel wells, and it was impossible to match the yellow of the vinyl used on the waves to any kind of carpet or fabric paint. So I left it like that for a good number of years. I was quite happy with it. But then something changed in the vehicle, and that is going to be in the next episode, the PT panel cruiser known as Preston Tucker. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for the next video about Preston Tucker, my custom steel body PT panel cruiser. Thanks for watching. Happy days.